Hello and welcome back to another module on CSS Animation. The CSS lets us add cool animation effects to an element by changing its properties from one property to another, or it can be applied to different properties together. And we can do that as many times as we want, or even for infinite number of times. Just like here, the animation goes on and on for infinite number of times. Now when I talk about the CSS animation, you might be thinking about another property that we recently learned about, which is CSS transition. Well, that's quite alright because transition is also a part of an animation, but the basic difference here is that the transition does require a trigger like a hover effect or a click event or a change in the window size, whereas the CSS animation doesn't require any trigger effect, though we can apply a trigger effect to that, but it generally doesn't require any trigger effect and it can go on and on as soon as the browser loads. And just to show you this little difference, we can switch to this tab, and here we have two div containers. To the first one we have applied a transition property, and to the second one we have applied the animation. And we are changing two properties here for each one of them. The first one is the width, which changes from 100 pixels to 200 pixels, and the background color, which changes from Dodger blue to medium sea green. Now this animation doesn't require us to take any action to perform this. It goes on and it starts as soon as the browser loads. Whereas for this transition to work, we will have to hover over this element. And now it works the same as the animation. So we are able to see the animation, but only when we hover over it, and the duration is as much as the time for which we hover over the element. And just like the hover effect, we can add the click event, or we can even do it for resizing the window. But this is the difference, that the animation doesn't require any trigger, but the transition does require a trigger. So with this in mind, let's now jump into the animation properties and see how we can apply the animation effects to the elements. So let's get started.